Hello, welcome back to ESPN's Football Forecast. I'm Hugh Wilson-Croft alongside my brother James Alcott. Happy holidays, everyone. I think that covers just about everything. And we're going to be covering just about everything when it comes to the football, including looking at the Premier League in particular and the race for a place in the Champions League next season, because things are hotting up. Some teams getting in better and better form, some teams falling away as well. And it's a crucial period in terms of the numbers of games in England. James, let's talk about the teams involved. We're going to start by talking about Arsenal. Mikel Arteta's side, pretty resurgent. 3 defeats in 18 in all competitions. They've turned the corner.
They have. You know, we went in hard on them at the start of the season, and I think a lot of people did. But they trust the process. Who knew? It actually came to be. They've been really, really impressive. You know, looking at the stats of them, open play XG is one I always kind of have a look for to see if they can unlock the opposition. They're currently 4th in that metric, and that leads them possibly towards where they want to be, which of course is in the Champions League. It would be quite an astounding achievement, in my opinion. I know they've spent a lot of money in the summer, but really, let's be honest, the expectations were 6th, 5th, maybe, if it had all gone well. So for them to be in the position that they're in right now is pretty astounding for me. And actually, the foundations that he's built there are really impressive. And the club is behaving in a way that's quite exciting, I think, at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in January, if they look to try and bring someone in, with Aubameyang apparently being a player that they're willing to listen to offers on at the moment, and not having that firepower. I know Nketiah's played and scored goals, but maybe that's a conversation for another time. I don't really think he's the talisman that they're going to need long term. So for me, it's about them continuing on this vein, being resolute at the back. They do give away a hell of a lot of shots. So that is a bit of a concern for me. But when it comes to this Christmas period, the next 3 games, for all of these teams, it's so huge for them, be it if you've got tricky fixtures or if you've got easy ones, because the pressure is on, of course, to win those easy games. For Arsenal, they've got Norwich, Wolves, and then Man City. How do you feel about those fixtures in comparison to the other sides battling out for the top 4? Because it's one where maybe down the road we won't be thinking about it, but this is a real pressure point of the season, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. And I think you need to come on the right side of the target of these games. I think they vary in terms of the difficulty. You'd expect them to be Norwich. Wolves are going to be a tough test. They haven't conceded many goals of late, not scoring many either, to be fair. And Manchester City is a game that most people presume Arsenal will lose, although if they win the next couple and they get into that in good form, who knows what could happen. But I think you look at the 3, they will want a minimum of 6 points out of it. That's on the right side, I think, of the points differential. Now, if they get 4 points, it's okay, but it's not the sort of form that's going to keep you in the top 4 race. So you need to win at least 2 out of the 3 games. Pretty tough for Arsenal, because I think Wolves are a good side. And of course, they've got Manchester City. Liverpool and Chelsea play each other. That's 3 games away. Liverpool have got Leeds and Leicester before that. Chelsea, Aston Villa and Brighton before that. And again, they will expect at least 6 points out of that, and then see what happens when they face one another, Liverpool and Chelsea. One of them will hope they will win. One will get 9, maybe 6, 7 for each. You know, that's just staying ahead, keeping your nose in front. And that's why I say if Arsenal take 4 points, they might be left behind. It's West Ham United, James, as well, who I think will want definitely 9 points from this to keep up. They play Southampton, Watford and Crystal Palace. However, it's their form that hasn't been great. 2 wins in 9 in all competitions. What's going wrong for them?
You know what? I kind of look at it now with an element of hindsight and think, did they really strengthen in the summer window? You know, it looks like they're running on fumes a little bit. Of course, went out in the League Cup. It was a spirited performance, but for where they want to be, and you hear how David Moyes talks now, he's changing the way that he's speaking about West Ham and the standards that he's trying to set for them. They are struggling a little bit at the moment, and you do wonder if in January they are one of the teams that really do need to strengthen if they want to capitalize on the situation and the feeling around the club at the moment, because they're going to lose that if they're not careful. Because this is why you spend money in the summer. It's not for the first 4 weeks of the season. It's for this period right now when there's so many games, and they're in a period of games. You say Southampton, Watford, Crystal Palace. They need, if they want to be in the top 4, they have to win all 3 of those. They really, really do, because those tough games are on the horizon. I know they do well in those often, but you can't be relying on that. You know, if you want to be one of the top 4 teams in the league, you need to beat the rest. And Southampton, who I think are struggling at the moment after a nice little passage of form. Watford, who have lost the last 4 as well. And Crystal Palace, that's a very tricky game. But if you can get the momentum going and get a bit of confidence in those first 2, then they put themselves in the hunt for it. But they need 9 points for me. They absolutely need 9 points if we're going to kind of talk about them as a team that could truly make it into the top 4. One thing that's obviously with all the problems in the world right now is the fact that there are some teams that haven't played as many games as the opposition. Man United, of course, are that. Newcastle, Burnley, Wolves for them. Is this, we were kind of waiting for Ralph Rangnick to have that time to take them on and burst their way up into that top 4. The expectation is that as well. It's another one where no less than 9 points is acceptable, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Manchester United. They're playing catch up a little bit, 2 games in hand to the team at the top of the table. Spurs just behind them are 3 games in hand to the teams at the top of the table. Really, both of them are in the same boat. So I want to talk about them at the same time. You mentioned United play Newcastle, Burnley and Wolves. Spurs play Crystal Palace, Southampton and Watford. And I think both of these teams will be eyeing 9 points out of those games. But both of them, I think, haven't really had the start in terms of time on the training field that either Ralph Rangnick or Antonio Conte would want. But both, I think, have improved since their previous manager's departure. Since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer left Manchester United, they were beaten in 6 games under Michael Carrick and then Ralph Rangnick. Under Antonio Conte, Tottenham have improved. They are now running more. There's a higher intensity. They've gone from the lowest running side in the Premier League to now the team that covers the most ground. That is a huge change. You would expect that with the intensity in terms of Antonio Conte's management, but also what he wants from his team out there on the pitch. Both sides, for me, need to take 9 points to be right in that conversation when we get to the new year and they can bring in some new faces in terms of that top 4 race. But I don't necessarily think that Ralph Rangnick has made the strides that Antonio Conte has. I'm going to be really intrigued to see how Manchester United do over the Christmas period with that extra rest for some of their players. Of course, some have had COVID. We don't know how that will affect them and their output. But I think in terms of the coaching, in terms of having that clear idea, which is why Ralph Rangnick was brought in, I'm really intrigued to see if the players know what they're doing now compared to a few games ago.
So with these games coming up, let's get a prediction here. Final thing I will say, actually, obviously we're talking about those teams, but they're playing opposition. The banana skin in all of this is Crystal Palace, both for West Ham in the 3rd game of that Christmas period and for Spurs in that 1st game. Because when you look at the injury table, which I've been looking at more and more recently because of everything that's going on, Crystal Palace only have 2 injuries at the moment, to Nathan Ferguson, which is quite a long one, and James MacArthur. So that they're kind of full strength. So expect them to cause a bit of a stir in some of these games because you've got other teams that have got 11 out, 12 out, 10 out, 7 out. So I think that could play a factor in it. In terms of who will get the most points out of these 3 games, it's got to be Man United for me. Newcastle, Burnley and Wolves. Do you see it any differently here?
It has to be. I think it really has to be. I think the thing is, Crystal Palace, if Spurs start well against them, they've got Southampton and Watford next. So as you say, it's a crucial first game. I think that both of them could take 9 points out of this. But it's going to be, look, again, West Ham United, the game against Crystal Palace, as you say, is a banana peel. But I also think with Southampton and Watford first, they could take 9 points too. It's crucial for these teams that they start stringing together some wins if they're going to stay in the race, because one of them will. At least one of them will. It's going to be a big Christmas.
Hi guys, James Alcott here from ESPN's Football Forecast. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and you want to check out more, make sure you subscribe to ESPN UK.